Today is Wednesday, April 8th, 2020, otherwise known as Day 13 of Digital Learning. Let's look at our activator. What would Woody do? Would he rather have 364 army men and give 188 to friends, or have 281 army men and give 137 to friends? I want you to write your answer down in the discussion box. Let's remember what we've talked about so far. We've talked about rows, which are objects arranged from left to right, and columns, objects that are arranged from top to bottom, and partitioning, which is to divide into equal parts. So this square right here is partitioned into two equal rectangles. Our I can statement for today is I can decompose a rectangle by using manipulatives to show an array, which is rows and columns. Let's look at the I do for today. Trixie sews cloth squares together to decorate the tops of fancy gift boxes. Before she cuts and sews the cloth squares, she makes a pattern of square sticky notes, so she knows how many pieces of cloth she will need. Trixie is making a rectangular design for the top of a small suitcase. It will have 15 same size squares. Use the words rows and columns to describe 2 ways she can arrange 15 squares. Explain how you found your answer. So the first thing I'm going to do is I see that it's a word problem. So I'm going to circle my numbers in green. 15. 2. And 15. The second thing I'm going to do is underline my question. Although it's not saying a question in this I see that it's telling me what to do. So I need to use words, rows, and columns to describe 2 ways that she can arrange the squares and explain how I found my answer. And then I'm going to box my action words in blue. So 2 ways, so telling me how many ways I need to do. So I know 5 plus 5 is 10, and another 5 is 15. So I can create one column of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if I add another column of 5, that is 10. So this is 5 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 rows. And 3 columns. So 6, 7, 8, 11. So this is 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 15. I could say 5 plus 5 equals 10, and another 5 equals 15. Do you see how I have made my squares where they're not overlapping each other and they're as close together as possible? When we create an array, this is the way they should look like. There should be no spaces between each of these squares. The second way I could create 15 would be to have one row of 15. So one row and 15 columns. So I did it right here in purple, and I can change my color in blue, and I can show you one row and 15. So here's one row and 15 columns. One, 2, 3, these are showing two different ways of how I could put place to my 15 squares. There's other ways I could do, but these are the ways I chose to do. So now it's time for the you-do. The you-do says, Bonnie has 12 extra squares pieces of cloth from the other projects. She makes designs with the squares. She finds that there are several rectangular arrangements of rows and columns to display 12 squares. The first one she makes is one row of 12 squares. Then she makes one column of 12 squares. How many other arrangements are there? Describe each one using the words, rows, and columns. Which student best solved this problem correctly? So Forky answers the question this way. I made 2 rectangular designs. One has 3 rows and 4 columns. The other one has 2 rows and 6 columns. I made 2 rectangular designs with 12 squares. Buzz answers it this way. I used tiles to make the design with 1 row and 12 tiles. Then I moved 6 tiles to make the designs with 2 rows and 6 columns. This means a design with 2 columns, 6 rows will hold 12 squares too. I made a design with 3 rows and 4 columns and a design with 4 rows and 3 columns. So I made a rectangular designs with 12 squares. Remember, you need to show work from both solutions of Forky and Buzz to submit your answer. I want you guys can draw your squares like I did. You can use Cheez-Its. You can use sticky notes. You can use Legos. Get creative. You have squares at home. You can use toilet paper squares. Whatever you have to make and show your work. We can't wait to see your designs.